P. Diddy be wanting the body. And you gotta tell him no. You got to tell him no. I did. I did.
Oprah Winfrey's name is reportedly mentioned in Jeffrey Epstein's unsealed court filings, and the quiet from her side is loud. For years, people believed her empire was untouchable, like nothing could ever crack the shine. That belief is now getting side-eyed as questions stack up and nobody's rushing to clear the air. For a long time, talk about her alleged connections to Weinstein, to Diddy, and to other powerful figures in Hollywood was brushed off as just rumors. That changed when federal raids on Sean Combs' properties made headlines, uncovering strange inventory lists and financial trails that online sleuths say line up with reported hush money payments tied to Tyler Perry, right down to a specific $5,000 figure. Folks started asking how all these dots keep landing so close together. Right now, insiders claim the Netflix documentary wasn't just a random expose, it was a calculated drop. According to those sources, the footage allegedly came from a third party with deep access to Diddy's inner circle. While his legal team focused on indictments, federal officials unexpectedly adjusted Combs' release timeline, and no public explanation followed, which only fueled more talk. 2 judges denied bail, and the same attorney defending Perry against a $77 million civil claim called the case a failed money grab. At the same time, messages shown in court are said to include Perry urging the accuser not to talk, which critics say raises eyebrows. The numbers feel off, the timelines feel messy, and people online keep pointing out that Costco doesn't sell baby oil as shorthand for how odd the details sound. Some of Weinstein's accusers have claimed Oprah's name gave him cover, and comedian Katt has hinted for years that he's been holding receipts, waiting for the right moment to let them fly. This isn't just about one powerful man falling from grace, it's about the whole machine that kept him protected for years. The quiet enablers, the sealed lips, and the recordings still sitting in the shadows, waiting to expose the next big name, that's the part nobody wants to talk about. When federal agents stormed Sean Combs' mansions in Los Angeles and Miami last March, they weren't just poking around his personal business, they were clearly searching for proof of a larger system at work, something organized and deeply rooted. This wasn't random, and it definitely wasn't rushed. Reports say agents cataloged thousands of bottles of baby oil, small vials of eye drops allegedly mixed with substances, and a web of payments stretching back years. Taken together, it painted a picture that looked far more planned than careless behavior. The raids happened only days after a grand jury indictment, and the timing felt intentional, almost choreographed, like every move had been mapped out. This was never just about Combs alone. It was about the people who moved around him, the ones who showed up at his infamous gatherings, the ones who walked away untouched while others took the fall. And this is where the story really twists, because while Combs sits in a New Jersey jail cell, the biggest question isn't even about his guilt anymore. It's about who else appears on those tapes, who else approved the silence, signed the checks, and looked the other way, and why does the FBI's interest seem to stretch far beyond one man's downfall, like they're pulling on a thread that could unravel a lot more than anyone expected. The official story says Combs was taken down by his own excess, and the charges followed naturally. Human trafficking allegations, racketeering claims, and transporting individuals across state lines are framed as the result of someone who finally went too far. That's the clean version being pushed, but the details don't line up that neatly. The baby oil alone raises eyebrows. Costco doesn't sell it in bulk.
Welcome back to NNN, where we give it to you straight, no chaser. Well, this story is not straight at all. It's quite twisty, turny, and greasy. Yeah. Tyler Perry, who's currently dating a black woman, wink wink, was outed and sued for $260 million in a sexual assault lawsuit filed by a male actor from his show, The Oval.
And nobody needs that amount for personal use, period. Then there are the eye drops, reportedly mixed with substances meant to lower inhibition, which investigators say were found alongside other suspicious items. That combination doesn't scream coincidence, it screams planning. Investigators also reportedly uncovered ledgers listing payments to people who attended the so-called freak-off parties. These weren't just chaotic nights with no memory attached. Sources say they were carefully tracked events with cameras running and records kept, and the people who could explain everything are staying quiet for now. Still, the silence feels thinner by the day, because once you line up the dates, patterns start popping out. Look at the timeline. Raids in March, indictments in September, then a sudden change in Combs' release date, moved up by a full week with zero public explanation. That doesn't just happen for no reason. Someone clearly knows more than they're admitting, and the timing suggests they're waiting for the right second to speak up. And here's where the story really gets strange. Combs' legal team has spent months blasting the Netflix documentary, The Reckoning, calling it a stolen hit piece allegedly backed by his longtime rival, 50 Cent. That loud focus on the film has only made people ask what else might be hiding off camera. The footage that cracked this case wide open didn't come from a reporter or a paparazzi hiding in the bushes. The clips of Combs angrily going off on his lawyers inside a hotel room, the behind-the-scenes chaos right before his arrest were handed over by a third party. This was someone with real access to Combs' inner circle, moving quietly while his team was distracted by the indictment storm closing in. That's not a random leak. That's a calculated drop. Whoever helped push that footage out is still out there, unnamed, untouched, and not answering questions. Netflix maintains the clips were obtained legally, but the bigger issue is who benefited most from their release. Keeping the spotlight locked on Combs conveniently leaves bigger names lingering in the shadows, and that doesn't feel accidental. The contradictions only get louder when you look at what followed. 2 judges denied Combs bail, a rare decision that signals they saw evidence the public still hasn't. Then his prison release date was quietly adjusted, cutting days off with zero explanation. Moves like that don't happen without serious reasons behind closed doors. And then there's the $77 million civil lawsuit involving Tyler Perry, filed by an actor who claims Perry made unwanted advances, offered money for silence, and tried to discredit him after he refused. The claims echo a familiar pattern: $5,000 payments, promises of career help, and pressure that feels way too organized to be brushed off. Perry's team calls it a failed money grab, but messages entered into the record tell a different story. In one exchange, Perry allegedly told the accuser, "I did so much for you," a line that lands less like frustration and more like leverage. When you line it all up, the patterns start looking uncomfortably similar. Here's where it really gets uncomfortable. The same attorney representing Perry's accuser is also handling another active case against him, despite claims from Perry's side that it was already dismissed. That's not random timing. That's a developing pattern that keeps repeating itself. Then there's Oprah Winfrey, whose name keeps popping up in places no public figure wants to see it. She's reportedly mentioned multiple times in Epstein-related documents, and she publicly supported Harvey Weinstein until the moment that position became impossible to defend. Add in the South African school tied to her charity, where abuse allegations led to arrests, followed by a quiet settlement and near total media silence, and the questions start stacking fast. Her team has never publicly addressed the Epstein references. They've also never clearly explained her long-standing relationship with Weinstein or why her name was allegedly used to make certain people feel safe and protected. That silence has only made critics louder, not quieter. Now, with Combs' case blowing up and lawsuits connected to Perry continuing to surface, the focus shifts. It's no longer just about what she may have known, it's about what role she may have played, directly or indirectly, in keeping things calm and controlled behind the scenes. When you line up the overlapping names, the money trails, the private gatherings, and the perfectly timed leaks, it stops feeling like a bunch of unrelated scandals. It starts to look like a carefully managed effort to steer the story before it spins out of control. And the most unsettling part of all, it might be what nobody is saying yet. Combs' appeal claims the judge acted like a 13th juror, but that argument dodges the real issue. The biggest problem isn't what was shown in court, it's what never made it there. The party tapes, the complete payment ledgers, the guest lists, and the promises allegedly made in exchange for silence aren't minor details. They're leverage with serious weight. Right now, someone is choosing when and how that leverage gets used. That's the quiet part nobody's saying out loud. The documentary tied to 50 Cent wasn't the end game, it was the opening shot. The next project reportedly isn't aimed at Combs at all. It's aimed at the people who thought they were untouchable, the ones who signed checks, showed up, and stayed silent when it counted. This was never just about one man's alleged crimes. It's about the system that let everything keep running smoothly and the people still working to protect it. That's why the focus keeps drifting away from Combs himself and toward the structure around him. The final puzzle piece is the one nobody's naming yet. The third party who handed that footage to Netflix wasn't a hacker or a random journalist. It was someone with access, motive, and something to gain, and that makes all the difference. If the past few months have shown anything, it's that the leaks aren't slowing down. The real question isn't if more is coming, it's who's next and how far they'll go to stay out of the spotlight. Because what links Combs, Perry, and Winfrey isn't just power, it's the fear of what happens when that power starts slipping. And right now, that power is slipping fast. The panic isn't limited to the usual names either. It's spreading across the entire industry like a wildfire. Sources close to multiple A-list figures connected to Oprah Winfrey, Sean Combs, and Tyler Perry describe a behind-the-scenes scramble, with lawyers on speed dial and crisis PR teams working non-stop to get ahead of whatever might drop next. The fear isn't only about being exposed, it's about being next. Actors who appeared in Perry's productions are reportedly digging through old contracts, checking morality clauses, and looking for anything that could come back around. Musicians who once moved through Combs' Bad Boy Records orbit are said to be wiping old social media posts, erasing photos and comments tied to his infamous gatherings, hoping distance equals safety. Former protégés from Oprah's media empire may be feeling it the hardest. They know her reputation for cutting ties fast when someone turns into a liability, and that reality has them watching every move.
I've not been funded. They pay you to not talk about things they don't want you to talk about. They tell you that themselves.
Hollywood's unspoken rule has always been that you're only as safe as your last scandal. But right now, that rule book looks rewritten. This time, federal investigators aren't just focused on the biggest names. They're reportedly looking at anyone who benefited from the system, even indirectly. That shift has everyone nervous, from executives to talent to longtime insiders. What makes this moment different from past scandals is the sheer volume of possible evidence. Party recordings linked to Combs, financial records tied to Perry's productions, and emails and contracts connected to Oprah's ventures are all under intense scrutiny. Industry whispers talk about a domino list, a quiet mental lineup of names that could fall if just one person decides to talk. The anxiety isn't just about what people may have done, it's about what they witnessed and stayed silent about. A background actor from one of Perry's films reportedly broke down during a private meeting, admitting he was present during inappropriate situations but felt too afraid to speak up at the time. That kind of fear doesn't fade, it just waits. A former bad boy artist is also said to have hired a private investigator, desperately trying to track down old footage from Combs' parties. The worry isn't hype, it's panic, driven by the fear that something compromising could resurface at the worst possible moment. When people start spending money to chase their own past, you know the pressure is real. Then there are the Oprah alumni, past producers and media figures who built careers under her banner. Many are now realizing that protection may have come with quiet expectations attached. The fear isn't abstract anymore, it's happening in real time. Phones buzzing late at night, lawyers urging clients to brace themselves for what could come next. One of the clearest signs of panic is the sudden radio silence. Public figures who once lived for attention are going quiet. Social media accounts are going dark. Scheduled interviews are getting canceled at the last minute, and no one's giving explanations. Names are quietly dropping out of high-profile events without a word. The industry's usual spin machine can't keep up, because this doesn't feel like just another messy headline. It feels like a reckoning tied to years of looking the other way. Agents are advising clients to lay low while they assess the fallout. Studios are delaying projects connected to Perry's production company, waiting to see how far the legal issues might reach. When the entire system hits pause, it's clear this moment is different. Combs' former associates may be feeling the heat the most right now. They know federal prosecutors don't stop at the headline name. They go after the entire network. The message couldn't be clearer. If you were part of the machine, you're now part of the investigation. And in Hollywood, where loyalty is treated like currency, the real gamble is who flips first to save themselves. The deeper people dig into Sean Combs' case, the clearer it looks that this was never just about one man's private behavior. It's about how power shields itself in Hollywood. The same patterns keep resurfacing: payments, private gatherings, carefully shaped narratives, and that's the most unsettling part of all. None of this feels new. That's why Tyler Perry's $77 million civil lawsuit is being viewed by critics as more than an isolated claim. They say it mirrors a familiar playbook: alleged $5,000 payments, promises of career opportunities, and pressure designed to keep people quiet. What's different now is that the cracks are starting to show. Perry's accuser, Mario Rodriguez, didn't just file paperwork and disappear. He posted a video online, looked straight into the camera, and said he'd stayed silent for too long. That doesn't read like someone chasing a quick payout. It reads like someone who feels backed into a corner. And he's not the only one rumored to have a story. That's why Perry's team pushing the failed money grab narrative feels so urgent. They understand what's really on the line here, because once one person speaks publicly, others start realizing they're not alone. The moment one accuser is taken seriously, everything shifts, and that's when the floodgates crack open. Then there's Oprah Winfrey, whose name keeps surfacing in the most uncomfortable contexts. She's reportedly mentioned multiple times in Epstein-related documents, publicly supported Harvey Weinstein until the allegations became impossible to ignore, and faced questions tied to a school in South Africa where abuse claims led to arrests, followed by a quiet settlement and a media blackout. None of that just fades away. Her team has never fully addressed these issues. They've also never explained why her name was allegedly used to make people feel safe and protected. What stands out most right now isn't what she said, it's what she hasn't said. While other Hollywood figures rush into damage control mode, Oprah has stayed completely silent. That silence doesn't look accidental, it looks strategic. When you've spent decades building an image as a moral authority, the worst move is shining a light on moments that don't match the brand. And right now, those moments are stacking up faster than anyone expected. The connections between these cases aren't just about similar behavior, they're about shared enablers. The same lawyers, the same publicists, and the same behind-the-scenes network that knows how to smother scandals before they blow up. That's how the game has been played for years. And this isn't a new warning. Katt Williams has been talking about this setup for a long time, calling out the same patterns and the same names. What's different now is that people are finally starting to listen. And once that happens, the system doesn't work the way it used to. He's been warning for years that the biggest names in the industry were shielding each other while tearing down anyone who threatened their control. His claims about Diddy's parties, the heat cranked up to extreme levels, the baby oil, the cameras everywhere, weren't just wild talk.
I got the receipts for everything I'm telling you. That's why I can leave.
Kid, I need another one. You here, get you another one too,
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
They were descriptions of a setup designed to create leverage and keep people trapped in silence. When you step back and look at how these scandals keep unfolding, a pattern becomes impossible to ignore. The people at the top don't just dodge consequences, they allegedly use them as weapons. Lawsuits, strategic leaks, and perfectly timed documentaries don't happen by accident. They look more like calculated moves in a much bigger power game. The most dangerous part of this story isn't even what's already public, it's what's still hidden from view. The recordings from Combs' parties, the complete payment records, the guest lists, and the alleged promises made in exchange for silence aren't small details. They're leverage with serious weight behind them. And right now, someone is deciding when and how that leverage gets played. That choice alone could change everything. The real question isn't whether more revelations are coming, because all signs point to yes. The real question is who's next and how far they're willing to go to stay out of the crosshairs. Because the thread tying Combs, Perry, and Winfrey together isn't just influence or fame, it's the shared fear of what happens when power starts slipping away. And right now, that grip looks weaker by the day. What's becoming impossible to ignore is that this isn't about isolated allegations. It's about a whole ecosystem built on quiet cooperation. The way Oprah's name was allegedly used to boost Weinstein's credibility. The way claims tied to Perry describe payouts that mirror the same dollar amounts mentioned in situations connected to Combs. And the way Combs' parties weren't treated like casual get-togethers, but reportedly documented events designed to create pressure and control. These aren't random incidents. They look like moving parts of the same machine, and that machine is starting to malfunction. When this many scandals collide, this many lawsuits stack up, this many leaks surface, and this many people suddenly find their voice, the dam doesn't just crack, it gives way completely. The missing puzzle piece is still the quietest one of all. The third party who handed footage to Netflix wasn't a hacker and wasn't a reporter. It was someone with access, motive, and something to gain, and that detail changes everything. If the last few months have proven anything, it's that the leaks aren't slowing down. The real question isn't whether more is coming, because it clearly is. The real question is who's next and how far they'll go to stay out of the crosshairs. Because the common thread linking Combs, Perry, and Winfrey isn't just influence or status, it's the shared fear of what happens when that influence starts slipping away. And right now, that grip looks weaker by the day. Here's where the story turns even darker. Because the people who stayed silent this long weren't just protecting themselves, they were protecting each other. The way Oprah's team has never publicly addressed the Epstein-related documents. The way Perry's legal defense mirrors tactics once used to discredit accusers in other high-profile cases. The way Combs' appeal zeroes in on a judge's conduct instead of confronting the evidence itself. These aren't random choices. They look like survival tactics. These strategies aren't about clearing names anymore, they're about holding the line. Because the moment one part of this structure cracks, the rest starts shaking. A system built on silence doesn't fear rumors. It fears the first person bold enough to speak openly. That's why this moment feels different. The recordings are rumored to exist. Accusers are no longer staying quiet. Lawsuits are stacking up faster than they can be dismissed. And the pressure keeps rising from every direction. The people at the center of this storm aren't just fighting headlines or public opinion. They're fighting to keep control. They're fighting to stay protected. And for some, they may be fighting for their freedom. Once silence stops working, the entire machine starts to fail. And right now, that silence is getting louder by the day. When a powerful machine starts breaking down, the first rule of survival is simple. Make sure you're not the one left holding the blame. And right now, it feels like someone is about to be. The pressure is shifting, the silence is cracking, and the spotlight is getting harder to dodge. Now it's your turn to weigh in. Who do you think is really pulling the strings behind the scenes? Is Oprah's silence a sign of guilt, or is it just a calculated strategy to avoid feeding the fire? Did Tyler Perry's team misjudge public reaction by brushing the lawsuits off as a money grab, or was that move designed to steer the narrative exactly where they want it? And the biggest question of all, what happens when the next tape drops? Because one thing is absolutely clear, this story isn't finished, not even close. Too many loose ends, too many people nervous, and too much evidence still sitting in the shadows. Drop your theories in the comments and let everyone know what you think is really going on. If this breakdown made you think, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who's been following this story too. Let's see who's really been paying attention. And as always, stay sharp. In a moment like this, the next delete, the next leak, or the next mistake could be the one that changes everything.